Hi cuties, I'm Lynsey Keux, founder of Keux Vintage Salon and the Keuxties Vintage Tribe. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm going to be telling you my story, a little bit more about how I quit my job, because this is something that people ask me all the time. How did you find the courage or find the right timing to quit your good, well-paid job and start your own business? And there's so many facets to that story that I feel like are so important to share, because you know what? I'm no different to anyone else out there. I just had to choose this path over staying in my job because I just knew that the long-term pain of staying in a job that wasn't right for me actually was greater than the fear I had in quitting that job, worrying about income and all those things. So I want to tell you, and I want to share this story with you because I know that you're probably feeling this way. If you're watching this video, then this is something that's bothering you right now. And you know what? If I can be one part in somebody's path to making that decision to follow a more authentic life, i.e. a life in which they are enjoying what they do every day and feeling fulfilled and not wanting to scream inside, not being bullied at work, not having colleagues that don't appreciate them. And you know what? Like, it's okay to want something that is exhilarating and that does really motivate you and inspire you. It's okay to not accept the status quo. And that's kind of how I approach things and why I have taken the leaps in my life to go and start my own business and create and design my day, my week, my month, my life, so that I am in control of all those choices. And don't get me wrong, it is not always easy. I have had the highest highs and the lowest of lows in this journey. And even with all of that, I still wouldn't change any of it. And that's why I'm so passionate about telling this story, because I really want other people to understand that it's not necessarily the path of least resistance that matters in life. It's actually the satisfaction we get when we really push ourselves to really create that lifestyle that we want. I really want to share lots of stories about how I got there, and this one today is particularly about how I actually took that leap to quit my last normal paid salaried career job to start my own business. So let me backtrack a little bit. I've had my business now for just over 10 years, and prior to that I had a career in local government. Not the sexiest, but I did enjoy some bits of what I did. I worked as a project manager, a program manager, business process re-engineering, which is a real fancy term for making things work better. So all of those things were incredible because they really did give me a grounding and a solid set of skills that I have actually used in my business. And I did actually do a degree in business before that. And although I loved uni and the whole experience that came along with that, I can't say that I learned a great deal about actual entrepreneurial day-to-day business in that course. So again, the life skills that my career gave me, brilliant. Don't regret that. It got me where I am today, but I kind of accidentally fell into that. So when I started, after uni or during the end of uni, I had a year in industry. So I fell into a job, in project management, which wasn't my intention. I'd seen this job advertised at the Mayor's office in London for events/projects. And the events were, organising things, government-related events, big festival type events in Trafalgar Square, that sort of thing. I was like, oh my God, I've always wanted to go into event management. This is so exciting. So I applied for that job, got the position, arrived on day one and realised, okay, oh my God, there's two interns, there's one projects and there's one events. I wasn't on events, I was projects. So I just kind of got pushed down this route of learning project management and doing, that kind of career. And I guess I was very moldable. I guess I didn't want to shout and say anything. I was very young. So I just went down that career. And then the logical step, having had a year of experience in that and kind of enjoying some bits of it and being good at it, like I'm naturally project kind of minded, that kind of thing worked for me. So after uni, I went and got a job doing that. And then I developed more skills in that career and just kept going there. And I did that for about 5 or 6 years. So I get it. I get that feeling you've got right now when you think, well, you know, I've done the qualifications, I've done the courses, I've invested time. I'm here because I'm good at this and I've worked towards this career. I don't want to give that up. I've been there, believe me. But all the way along, there was this little niggling thing at the back of my head saying, this is not what you want to do. You wanted to do event management. This isn't what you love. So that voice kind of took over and I started to do events as a hobby, but really I always wanted to have my own business, so I kind of always knew it had a long-term goal, but you know, that kind of confidence didn't come from me at the start. I didn't think to myself, I've got this brilliant business idea and I've got this long-term strategy. I was like, what do I enjoy doing right now? What do I want to do? What can I explore here? And that's what I did. So I started exploring doing events, and I would do evening ticketed events, and everything was kind of turning out vintage because I actually loved it, although I didn't really realize it. I didn't really call myself in vintage or anything like that. But I was doing burlesque nights, we were doing dirty dancing nights, all that kind of thing. So that kind of took off and I started to really enjoy the event management side of it. It was giving me a creative outlet. I'm going to tell you a little side story on a separate video about this, but when I first started doing this, I was in a job in Oxfordshire and my boss was a horrible person. She was bullying me. I was going through incredible anxiety. It was really, really horrendous. And she was just hell-bent on ruining me, basically. And so at that time, me pursuing something that I felt I was good at and in control of was good for me. And I didn't stick around too long in that job, and I'm gonna tell that full story separately because I full on had a Bridget Jones moment where I actually quit on her, and it's quite a fun story to tell, so I'm gonna tell that another time. However, moved on to another job and had actually a really amazing boss. Like, he genuinely was not micromanaging. He genuinely let me do what I wanted to do as long as I produced the results. I worked from home in this job, and I also worked all over the country, traveling. I was a national project manager, so it was kind of nice to get out and about and have lots of change throughout my day. And like I say, he was just a really cool boss. There was no problem there. So interestingly enough, I think people expect that my story of, you know, starting this business and quitting comes from that horrendous situation, but it didn't. I carried on after having that bully boss because she put my confidence so low that actually I kind of needed to have another year or so in another job, probably to build myself up, because if I'd have quit at that point, I don't know where I would have been. I don't know what energy I'd have had to put into my business. So the interesting thing is actually what happened was I went into another job. I got a really good pay rise in that new job, great boss, great flexibility. I was able to do my job, but genuinely not happy still. Like, what the hell? Financially, we were doing well. We'd bought a second house so that we could rent our original one so that we could make money from that and live out in the countryside, and everything was going great. We bought a Mustang, we got some dogs, everything just seemed great. But you know what? I just wasn't happy. So I kept pursuing this business on the side because that was what was making me happy. And I started to put photo shoots together so that we could promote these events. And everything kind of went from there because 10 years ago, I realized there was no one else around me who could do the hair and makeup to style these girls vintage, to do this promotional shoot for the events we were running. And I say we because at the time I was collaborating with other people like photographers and a lady who did catering, like afternoon tea. So we didn't have a business together, but we collaborated and worked together, and I always believe in bringing together the power of many and the results that can come from that. So it was a really fun time. It was exploring new things, and I started to realize that this is really making me happy. But here goes, right? So we've got 2 mortgages, we've got cars to run, and we'd built a lifestyle based on this salary. And I was bringing in some money from this business, but we're talking a lot less. So, you know, I get that you're probably in that position right now, whether you started something on the side or you've got an idea or a plan or something you want to do and it's untested, or even if it's not untested, even if you're buying into something, being a partnership with someone else or franchise or whatever it is, you know, there's still that fear inside. There's still that unknown. Am I going to be able to do this? But in that moment in time, like I said before, I made a choice. And I truly believe life is a sequence of choices. Like, I've had things thrown at me throughout my life. And again, I will talk about these separately. IVF, infertility, health things, all of that. And what I've learned, even though these things get thrown at us, is that we cannot control what is happening to us or that comes into our life, be it health, be it relationships, being made redundant, anything like that, people around us not behaving how we want them to or we feel we need from them. That's okay, because we do have choices about how we react to that. And it's certainly something I've learned over the years, that actually I can design parts of my life. There's things I can control. I can control what I get up and do every day. I can control that. I can choose that. I can design that. And the pain inside me, the concept of continuing on with something that was okay, money, job's okay, boss is nice, it's all okay. There's nothing actually that painful about this situation. But you know what really is painful about that? Is that it's not the best. It's not amazing. It's not exhilarating. It doesn't get me going. I'm not motivated by it or inspired every day, or even really challenged and pushed. And that to me was unacceptable. Like, I don't want to live when, that kind of lifestyle where I don't really have the best of what I want in life. And I'm not talking about materialistic things. I'm talking about like that feeling inside, that satisfaction that you get and motivation you get from doing what you love and like giving it a go, even if you're not great at it at the start, which, who is? So that was the balance I had. Like, do I carry on with the status quo, or do we make big sacrifices? So my husband could see that this business was starting to get some traction and that we were starting to take more money, and that there was interest in what I was offering, and that there were new opportunities and other things I could offer. So I guess I'm really, really lucky that he supported me. We made massive sacrifices. We made big decisions. We sold that beautiful house in the countryside and went back and lived in our little house in the town that I don't really want to live in at the time. It really wasn't part of my plan, but the mortgage was tiny. It meant that we had choices to start this business because we didn't need so much income. That was a big sacrifice. It was a sacrifice for him and for me. And I guess that's saying that, you know what, it just when you see people who have quit their job and achieved their business, don't just think that that came easy, because believe me, they've made massive sacrifices, whatever they are, for different people, be it the relationships, the time they have with people and all that sort of thing. I made so many sacrifices at the start because, you know what, I wanted a better life, and I knew that those sacrifices were temporary, that we would buy that house I wanted again another day, in the future. And you know what? It's happening. So my message to you today is, if you're not totally happy with what you're doing right now, like it's not really giving you that buzz that it should, it's okay to want something different and to put plans in place to change that. And it doesn't have to be that dramatic. So, it doesn't have to be that big a deal in the sense that you have to quit your job and then the next day start a brand new business with no income. Like, I built it up in the background. I tested the market. I tried different services. I worked with different partners. I did that for a year or two. Again, sacrificed my social life, my time with friends. I'm not going to say my health in a dramatic way, but in the sense that I was tired. I burnt the candle at both ends, and there was a lot going on in my head constantly, so I wasn't really relaxing. But again, it was all worth it. These situations are temporary. So take the leap and make big decisions and big choices so that you can start to design that life, be it through a transition or over a small or long period of time, whatever works for you. So kind of going back to the timeline there, once I'd made that decision, we put in place how that was going to work for us. So it kind of removed some of the fear of, am I going to be able to pay my way if the business doesn't bring in any money that month? Yeah, we kind of put that in place. I saved some money over the last few months of knowing that I was going to quit my job, because I put away some of my salary. I kept all the money that I made in the business aside. I didn't spend it. I didn't enjoy it. I put it aside so that when I actually stopped having this career salary, I had that money behind me. So I made a plan. Like, I had a date in mind. I had an exit strategy. That's it. You know, if you've got a dream or a goal in which you want to be a writer, be a blogger, be a photographer, an artist, anything that you're not doing right now and you want to do and you want to make money out of it and you want to make that your everyday. Like I always say when I'm talking to people about my franchises, I want to help you make vintage your everyday. If you love vintage, let's do that every single day. How cool is that? So whatever it is that you want to make your everyday, then make a plan as to when you're going to do that. Don't say one day I'm going to do that. Say in a year, in 6 months, even in 2 years, 3 years. If you've got that end date, boy, will that come around quickly. So have a plan in place, put that money aside, make those sacrifices, because everyone out there who's made it for themselves, it didn't just fall on their lap. They went out and grabbed it. And it's not always easy, but it's actually easier than not being happy every day, if that makes sense. So that's my story about how I quit my job. And really, it's a story about how I made the decision to quit my job, like what went behind that and the thinking. The actual quitting of my job was relatively simple. I handed in my letter. My boss took it, he got it, he understood, he knew where I was coming from. And you know, I took that last salary and then I worked my ass off in the business. I threw every ounce of energy into it because I knew what it had been like to only be able to give it 20%. So when I could give it 100%, it flew because all of my brain power was in it. And that is so key with your passion project, having the time and energy for it. And that's why we have to make these bold decisions to stop doing something else so that we've got enough energy to do the thing that we love. So that's my how I quit my job story. I hope you enjoyed it. I love to share these stories because I do hope that they have an impact. So please do comment below or talk to me on the Keuxties Facebook tribe, catch me on Instagram and tell me about your stories because that's what I love. I love hearing other people's stories. And I also want to feature those stories here on Keuxties TV so that we can share other journeys and decisions and choices and designs of life that people have made, especially our cuties. So get in touch with me if you can share yours too. So that's the end of my video. Have an amazing day. Make big decisions today, and I'm wishing you all the very best of love and luck in everything that you do. Thank you so much.